Amidst one DCU project cancellation, James Gunn clarifies the status surrounding Matt Reeves' The Batman sequel. Welcome to Stats In. If you're just joining us, please subscribe and don't forget to turn on notifications bell for more video. Since embarking on the DCU ship, James Gunn has been pretty vocal about prioritizing writers above all else, recognizing them as the backbone of productions. Gunn, being a writer-director himself, swore to never head into production without a finished screenplay at the helm. This quality-driven approach to the DCU is a breath of fresh air in the current mainstream climate, where big-budget movies are primarily studio-driven and risk-averse. But as a consequence, a seemingly confirmed movie was recently axed, and fortunately, it's not The Batman. Given James Gunn's regime has stricter adherence to screenplays, the Superman director recently confessed that a movie, which was greenlit within the studio, was axed as a result of screenplay issues, adding, via Rolling Stone, the screenplay wasn't ready. Considering The Batman 2, for the longest time, has been stuck in pre-production limbo due to the lack of a finished script, some presumed Gunn might be hinting at the sequel's fate. However, in the same interview, the DC head clarified for the nth time that The Batman 2 isn't cancelled, urging fans to be patient and let Matt Reeves do his thing. As for what the canned project could be, which wasn't disclosed, several others presumed it could be Luca Guadagnino's Sergeant Rock, as the movie is no longer in active development. The announcement of Sergeant Rock, while a surprise, was pretty on brand for James Gunn, and given the talent involved, featuring revered filmmaker Luca Guadagnino behind the camera, many were excited. But according to prior reports, via Variety, the development for the movie was paused due to external reasons, as the crew reportedly couldn't hit the summer window for shooting, and filming in winter apparently wasn't an option. As for the possibility of this being the undisclosed canned project at the DCU, it's important to note that the screenplay from Justin Kuritzkas was the very reason why Sergeant Rock was greenlit in the first place. On the bright side, the DCU, as Gunn described, has been mostly lucky on that front with finished screenplays for Supergirl, Lanterns, and Clayface, and hopefully, whatever's next, it'll continue to follow in these footsteps. Iconic director James Gunn talked about the canonicity of the DCU and how if you're dead, you stay dead, except one iconic Batman superpower. Welcome to Stats In. If you're just joining us, please subscribe and don't forget to turn on notifications bell for more video. James Gunn, the man known for creating some iconic movies like Guardians of the Galaxy and The Suicide Squad, has been the co-head of DC Studios since 2022. The director is all set and geared for the release of the upcoming movie Superman, and that's what we are a tad bit concerned about. It won't necessarily turn out to be a bad movie, but there are some signs that people aren't too sure about. The director recently commented about canon rules about the DCU and how each death will be permanent. In the comic books, superheroes, and the good guys, generally don't die. Even if they do die, they are brought back with some other cheap trick or tactic to create fake high stakes in the comics. These rules are also followed by the MCU as well as the DCEU, to some extent. All started when a fan stated that no one in DC stays down forever on Threads, at JamesGunn/IG. That's when James Gunn, who's often known to be very responsive on social media, stated that if you're dead, you're dead. In the DCU, if you die, you're dead. In another thread, Gunn also talked about Batman's potential superpower, the Lazarus Pit, and how he wouldn't shy away from using it. But there's a condition for that, too. If you don't know what the Lazarus Pit is, it was prominently used by Ra's al Ghul to heal and potentially revive people who had died. So, would James Gunn make an exception for Batman if the superhero were to potentially die? Well, there's a condition. Another thread, Gunn talked about the potential usage of the Lazarus Pit in his DCU. Although previous directors like Christopher Nolan, the Dark Knight trilogy, and Zack Snyder, the DCU, have not used the Lazarus Pit in their movies, it seems that James Gunn wouldn't mind using it. Fans have doubted Gunn's abilities, especially when you consider scenes like the three-teeth knock in Superman. His decision to potentially use the Lazarus Pit in the DCU could have some devastating results. Well, I wouldn't mind using the Lazarus Pit and/or resurrection in a story, but it would have to be a part of the story itself. I won't be killing major characters just to pop them in the old LP to be alive again. He added in another thread by @JamesGunn/IG. What backfires more is people believing there are no stakes and death doesn't mean anything. Dead is dead. Even Batman doesn't use the Lazarus Pit because he's afraid. Although the pool does have healing powers, the negative effect of the Lazarus Pit is insanity. Although the character comes back from the dead, they are never the same again. This is Batman's one superpower, which is actually magical, instead of the logical suit that he built, and James Gunn will only use it if the story demands it. Only time can tell whether Gunn will decide to use the Lazarus Pit, and if he does, what will be the consequences of it. The music in James Gunn movies has always been something to marvel at. The director recently revealed his process of picking music for his films. Welcome to Stats In. If you're just joining us, please subscribe and don't forget to turn on notifications bell for more video. James Gunn's reputation as one of the best soundtrack curators in Hollywood is no accident. His films aren't just remembered for their characters and visuals, they're remembered for the songs. Whether it's Peter Quill vibing to Redbone or a perfectly timed Bowie track elevating a scene's emotion, Gunn's music choices feel surgically precise. But what fans may not realize is how much time, energy, and obsession go into curating those playlists. While most directors consider music in the post-production stage, Gunn builds soundtracks into his films from the earliest writing sessions. And now, he's finally revealed the surprising method behind how he keeps his music picks fresh and inspired. In a recent interview on Max's YouTube channel, James Gunn shared that he is a huge fan of music. "I'm pretty obsessive about music." He listens to a lot of music across genres, and there are tools that help him in the process. Gunn revealed that he regularly visits a site called Album of the Year, a platform that catalogs every new album release along with critical and fan reviews. While it's not a streaming service, it serves as his go-to resource to discover highly rated new music across genres. Once something catches his eye, he dives into listening sessions. Since it's impossible to listen to all the music that comes out, Gunn picks from his favorite genres and the highly rated work on the website he mentioned. He also often relies on the recommendations from his brothers, who are just as passionate about music. These exchanges allow Gunn to explore sounds beyond his comfort zone, which eventually influence his storytelling decisions. This obsessive method has been a part of his creative process since the beginning. During the making of the Chris Pratt star, Guardians of the Galaxy, he sifted through hundreds of lesser-known 70s songs, narrowing them down to a set that would form the heart of the film. The final selections were so tightly integrated that they were played live on set, helping actors and crew sync to the rhythm and tone. The result was a soundtrack that felt like an emotional backbone, not just background music. Despite being known for his impeccable playlists, Gunn is making a deliberate shift with the David Corenswet starrer Superman. Unlike his previous films, this one leans heavily on a traditional score, composed by John Murphy and David Fleming. There are still a couple of songs woven into the film, but Gunn has said this is his first score-heavy project. He believes this approach helped him grow creatively, forcing him to find new ways to shape mood and narrative without relying on the emotional shorthand that needle drops often provide. Even with the score leading the way, Gunn hasn't forgotten the power of legacy. The composer has hinted at incorporating